Hi, friends. Shabbat Shalom. Oh, that's really loud. Is that really loud? No? Okay. Let's begin again. We're going to invite you to turn to page 129 in our prayer books. Hopefully, as you entered, you picked up a prayer book, and it will say Mishkan Tefillah on the cover. If you don't see it, turn it over, because it's a Hebrew opening book. And so Mishkan Tefillah is the name of the Siddur of our prayer book. And if you picked a version with 2 page numbers, you're following the page number in blue brackets. All right. 129 is where we begin. 129. Dodi li vani lo haroeh bashoshanim dodi li. Let's do that again. Dodi li vani lo haroeh bashoshanim dodi li mizoto la min hamidbar mizoto la min hamidbar dodi li vani lo haroeh bashoshanim dodi li mekuteret bashoshanim dodi li. Yafeh. Before we light our candles, I'm going to invite you just to turn to a neighbor, someone perhaps you do not know, and you can introduce yourself, you can share your name. If you're not ready to shake hands, that's okay, but you can just wish each other well, say Shabbat Shalom. Wonderful. Hopefully everybody met someone. Let's turn again. We're going to go backwards to page 120. Page 120. And Ron and Mary Jean, I understand, you are going to come and join us for the, I almost said Price is Right, to light our Shabbat candles. Do we have matches there? Good. Page 120. You have to work for it today. Adonai Eloheinu melech asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thanks, friends. Shabbat shalom. We invite you folks to rise. If you are able, we turn to page 123, and we continue with our Kiddush. 123. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon inchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikrai kodesh zeicher letziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta v'otanu kindashta mikol amim v'shabbat kodshecha b'yava uvratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat. Amen. L'chaim. That was wonderful. You can return to your seats. Let's turn forward to page 138 and 139. We welcome the Shabbat with Lecha Dodi, a prayer from our mystics on the mountaintop of Tzfat in the land of Israel. And when these folks who escaped Spain and who are seeking refuge in their traditional Holy Land, they were eager to have a time of peace. And so they created this prayer for Shabbat to help wake us up and prepare us, because Shabbat is a little bit of a taste of the world to come, a little taste of what the world could be like with peace. And so we invite you to sing along with us. 138 to 139, we start with the first 5 stanzas. After the 5th one, we jump to the very last one. And when we reach the 9th one, our custom is to rise, face the open doors in the back of our sanctuary, and symbolically, we welcome the Sabbath bride into our midst. Since the cantor's not here, you have to sing extra loud. Lecha dodi mikrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi mikrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor בדיבורך השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושם ותפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם לסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך תצאי מתוך ההפיכה רב לך שבט במכה בחבר יחמול עלייך חמלה לכדודי לקראת קלה פני שבת מקבלה לכדודי לקראת קלה פני שבת מקבלה התנערי מאפק ומלבשי בגדי תפתחמי על יד בן ישי בית הלך לי קורבה אל נפשי גאלה לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה התעוררי התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי 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 שתדברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום תרד בלגן בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה. May be seated. We turn forward 142. Shalom Aleichem, Malechei Hasharet, Malechei Elyon, Melech, Malechei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malechei HaShalom, Malechei Elyon. Mi melech, Malechei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leshalom, Malechei HaShalom, Malechei Elyon. Mi melech, Malechei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leshalom, Malechei HaShalom, Malechei Elyon. Oni melech, Malechei Hamlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. We welcome those angels into our midst. 146. We rise again if we are able and enter this tefillah with Baruch Hu. Ya la 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 ya la ya la la ya la la ya la ya la la ya la la la, ya la, ya la la. Baruchu et Adonai Hamivorach. Baruch Adonai Hamivorach, Hamivorach Leolam Vaed. Hamivorach, Hamivorach Leolam Vaed. We hold your place and look in the back of the book on page 677. 677. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. We will know that you are one. Page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. May be seated, and let's turn the page. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם emet. 156. Let's read together. I'm sorry, 157 on the top of the page. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there's a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. We turn the page. 158. Yallai, 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 Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, norati lo rosefele, norati lo rosefele. Malechutecha ראו בניך, בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם. Let's turn the page. We begin on 161 with the English, and then we move to 160, a prayer that we only sing in the nighttime. It's sort of like a very ancient, traditional Jewish lullaby. I think folks once upon a time were always scared of the dark, and they ask for God to be present and embrace them and shelter them and comfort them. I don't think we need to say that just at nighttime. We all know that the world is pretty complicated and there's a lot of hurt out there. So hopefully this prayer can bring us a little bit of comfort, a little bit of calm, so that we can bring some calm and comfort out into the world. 161, then the Hebrew one, 160. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let's try that again. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu leshalom, Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu leshalom, Ve'amitenu shomreinu lechaim, Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu leshalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. We turn forward, move into the tefillah together, 164, and we ask you to rise as you are able. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imaot, U'Mevii Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magin, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayei Hakol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Ve'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayim Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Mimit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom ya'alu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. May be seated. Let's read together on 173. May these hours of rest and renewal. Open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. At the bottom of 175. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, and our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers, and there may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, shodcha levadcha bira na'avod. A prayer for peace on 178. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav HaYisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav HaYisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav HaYisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav HaYisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Let's take some time for a not-so-silent prayer. We'll take a little moment for personal prayer, reflections, and appreciate a joyful noise even in the background. Shalom bimromav, Hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Shalom bimromav, Hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. La 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la oh say shalom bimromav, Hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. Ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la oh say shalom bimromav, Hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. It's always after our prayer for peace, we turn to a prayer for healing and wholeness. You can turn to page 371 in the middle of the page. And if you picked up one of the little handouts, you'll open it up and you'll see again, like always, a list of many names, folks whose names have been shared with us, who have asked for healing and strength and love and prayer. So with these names, we'll take along with our own, and if you would like to share the name out loud with someone who could use some of that strength from us, we invite you just to lift up those names and call them out, even if they're all at the same time, just like that. Even if they're all at the same time, let's just receive them all together. $371. Mi shebe'erach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say amen. sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. There's a couple of other prayers for us and blessings for us to share on this night. But in light of I don't know, all of the news, can we just say all of it? All of the news. It has been a really challenging time for lots of people, and to think about how we create encounters in our world. I wanted to share a prayer, a contemporary prayer from Kate Bowler. Kate Bowler is a professor in the divinity school at Duke University, and she wrote this: "O God, I am done with broken systems that break the very people they are meant to serve. Harness this anger, channel it into worthy action, and show me what is mine to fix and what boundaries to patrol to keep goodness in and evil out. Blessed are we who are appalled that brute ignorance can so easily dominate over decency, honesty, and integrity. Blessed are we who choose not to look away from systems that dehumanize, deceive, defame, and distort. We who recognize that thoughts and prayers are not enough. We who stand with truth over expediency, principle over politics, community over competition. Oh God, how blessed are we who cry out to you. Empower us to see and name what is broken, what is ours to restore. Guide us to find coherent and beautiful alternatives that foster life, hope, and peace. Help us to use our gifts with one another in unity. Blessed are we who choose to live in anticipation, our eyes scanning the horizon for signs of your majesty, heaven come down as we wait. Amen. But even when we say our prayers for healing, and that too for me is a prayer for healing, we always have to end a teaching or a message with joy. So Michael and Nick have a lot of joy in their lives. So I'm going to invite you, friends, to come up and join me here. Howdy. So, I hear you're getting married. That's fantastic. Oh, isn't that nice? And the wedding, you're a little red there, Michael. And the wedding is Monday. And you have a few nearest and dearest that have come close to celebrate with you. And we're so happy for you. We're happy that you found each other. We're delighted that you get to celebrate, that you get to consecrate, that you get to journey in your lives with one another, bringing you strength and comfort and presence and goodness. And we hope that there's, of course, going to be many more days of joy than there will be of sorrow. And for your journey, we just want to wish you well and strength and share a prayer. Holy One, Bless these two men who stand before you and your holy ark on this Shabbat before their wedding. As it says in your Tanakh and your Hebrew Bible, when David finished speaking with Saul, Jonathan's soul became bound up with the soul of David. Jonathan loved David as himself. This loving couple will soon bind their souls together into one in this wonderful marriage that happens on Monday. The words they shall speak and the rites they will perform will unite their lives into a mishpacha of their own, a family within the community, our community. Holy One of blessing, may they devote themselves to each other. May they ever be mindful of the blessing you have bestowed upon them and the home that they make together. May they grow in love and strength with one another through the years. May they respect the uniqueness of their partner while celebrating his achievements. May any sorrow or difficulties they experience be sweetened by their commitment to one another. Michael and Nick, may the years be kind to you both. May you laugh together. May you find support in each other. May the traditions of our community enrich your home. May you be blessed with health and with long lives. And this evening, may you feel the embrace of your family. May you know that our Jewish community too is going to dance a hora in your celebration. And may the light of Shabbat fill our souls, your souls, with happiness, contentment, and love. And let us say, Amen. Congratulations. It's really good you're here with us. Good, good, good. So I heard those thuds, and I know that there's a custom of like sharing candy because it's a sweetness and a sweet time, but I kind of thought at first it was like their gift registry, and, KitchenAid, here it comes. Vitamix, all right. So some of us just got back from Israel, and it was awesome, right? It was awesome. And I think some of us are still there. Some have traveled to other countries. Others are still dealing with jet lag. I came back, I don't know when, but it was during this past week, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. It really was a meaningful journey. It wasn't at all a vacation because I worked them very hard. And it very much was, in some ways, a sacred pilgrimage of our own. I really do feel that way. And we called this tour of ours, this journey, a Tastes of Israel tour. So we ate great. We had lots to drink. There was wonderful food. There was wonderful company. But we also had tastes of Israel that people don't necessarily see, because what we see in America tends just to be whatever CNN chooses or some other sort of headline. And I want to share with you some reflections of our trip that I think go beyond headlines to help us think about who is in Israel, what is Israel really like in some ways, and how can we as partners, because for me, that's part of my Jewish values. I see myself as a Zionist. I don't want other people to take that term away from me and rebrand it into something that it's not, or it certainly doesn't have to be. I'm going to own my Zionism. I'm going to own my partnership with the rebuilding of the Jewish people, with Israel at a center. But here's a little bit about our trip. So for several people, as I was talking about what was like their most interesting or dynamic or favorite moment, they talked about how we visited Majar. It is an Arab city, and it has a very large Druze population. Druze are folks who broke off from Islam centuries ago and have strong connections to land and to people, very much like the Jewish people. But their religion is a secret. So unless you become religious, and you can tell who they are because of beards and a certain type of traditional dress, unless you become religious, even for people who are Druze, the religion is a secret. They just don't know much about the workings of it, but their connections to people, land, and culture and language is really so significant, and it's very much how a lot of us might feel. So we went into this village, this small city really, and we met with Miyad, and eventually we met her husband Snir. Snir was a high-ranking officer in Israel's border police, and he's often serving in the old city of Jerusalem. But while we were there, he came back, and Miyad was teaching us how to make classic Druze cooking. One of the dishes was grape leaves, which I love, and that was great fun. And the other one is makluba, which is sort of like a crispy rice kind of a cake kind of a thing. And you put vegetables and chicken and stuff like that, usually with eggplant. And then the finale is that you have to turn it over. You see it a lot in Arabic cooking. Super cool. Super cool. Don't try it at home. But if you're interested, it's called makluba. But I want to talk about these grape leaves because everybody was enjoying watching her make them, how one of our congregants was kind of grating the tomato into the rice, putting in all of these warm spices. It was really a fantastic thing, and then we all started to do it. But here's the funny thing. Miyad, at a certain point, came and stood right next to me. And she unwrapped all of my grape leaves because they were terrible. And then she rewrapped them, indulging me to kind of put my hand on it once in a while. And then after we fixed the ones that I originally destroyed, then she stayed next to me. She didn't go to anybody else. So the thing that I recognize is that I failed Druze cooking, or really any kind of cooking. That's the first lesson from the trip. When it came to the makluba, I just took pictures. But she was gracious and lovely, and after talking about Israel and visiting Israel a bunch of times and living in Israel, I learned more about the Druze people that night in her home than I ever did from any book or any reading or any other kind of tourist encounter, because we were talking to real people and what is important to them and how we can find some kinds of connections. We had a few of these kinds of encounters. We also met with Doris Hifwawi. She is a Christian, Arab, Palestinian, Israeli who lives in Jaffa, and that's how she identified herself. A Christian, Arab, Palestinian, Israeli. And when you talk to Doris, you have a sense of this blending of modernity and tradition, wanting to maintain Christian community and Christian traditions as she knows them, and that's been in her family, but at the same time was an entrepreneur and wanted to help other Arab women in Yafo become entrepreneurs and serve a better future for themselves, but still wanted a very strong Christian upbringing for her family. So we met with Miyad, we met with Doris, we met with other folks, we took food tours, and we saw food and conversations and stories from Jews from Yemen and Morocco and Spain. My personal favorite on the food tour was this cheese-stuffed hibiscus flower, by the way. Yum. We talked about these Jews from Iraq and from Persia, and then we met with other women, asylum seekers from Sudan and Eritrea, who escaped one of the most dangerous countries in the whole entire world They were victims of human trafficking in the Sinai desert, and they tried to find safety in Tel Aviv, walking to Israel, being trafficked from East Africa. And we heard their stories, and we had their coffee. And one of their traditional foods was popcorn, which was super cool. But we saw these pictures too, where it's so easy for us to say Israel needs to provide a place for them, and how the government wasn't necessarily granting them asylum or helping them build a better life. There is a feeling among some, certainly on the far right of Israel, that anybody who's not Jewish coming into the state of Israel is a threat. And we heard their stories, and it broke our hearts. Then we continued with our journey, and we saw archaeological digs, and we heard about our history. We ate lots of falafel. There was lots of storytelling. On a Saturday night, we went to a demonstration in Tel Aviv, because at the time, that was the 24th week in a row where 100,000 people were in Tel Aviv demonstrating against the government not to change, not to engage in what the government is calling judicial reforms, but would really kind of make democracy limp in the state of Israel. And while we were there and watching all of these people with no real police around, even though there was 100,000 people there or more, and by the way, another 100 demonstrations across the country that same night, we saw that people saying that democracy isn't just for Jews. It was a powerful expression of Israel. It was a powerful expression of complexity. And then we went back for a wine tasting at a kibbutz where I lived for a year when I was a kid. During the first Gulf War, remember Saddam Hussein sending in Scuds? I lived on this kibbutz and worked in the vineyard. There wasn't a winery. They just sold the grapes. But now the kibbutz Zorah had its own really good wine. And it was a lovely time with bread and cheese and hummus. And we had this experience of looking at really intense things and having great stories and learning about our history and our memories, as our communal memories, as well as looking at some contemporary, really significant challenges. So we had this week of contrasts. We had highs and lows. We saw hardships and injustices and heartbreak right next to the joys and inspirations, memories and connections. And I think Israel is really all of that. And it's a lot more. So many see it as one-faceted, that it's a refuge for Jews, period. It's a place that occupies a people, period. It's a cradle of Jewish history, and it should be only for Jews, period. It's led by a government, a particular government with some extremists in it, quite frankly, and they are prepared to diminish Israel's democracy, period. And all of these things and any others that I could name, and I can name you another 20 periods, they all miss the nuance. They all miss the people. Israel is none of those things and all of those things. But before one judges, one has to listen, to see, to learn. And so many people don't. We just pull the most recent headline that animates us. I set up this tour to have real conversations about a real Israel that's amazing and inspiring and messy and heartbreaking. It's really all of that. But I believe in the power of Israel and its embodiment of hope, something I share with folks here all the time. I think Israel embodies hope. And remember, hope is our conviction to not just see a better future, but to be a part of building a better future. Hope's not a wish. It's not a prayer. It's a conviction that's followed by an action. That, for me, is hope. So I want to share a little piece from a book that kind of shares some color that I think is interesting, and it's a great writer. She's a fantastic writer. Her name is Sarah Tuttle Singer. She writes for an online Israeli news magazine called The Times of Israel. And this is from her book called Jerusalem Drawn and Quartered, One Woman's Year in the Heart of the Christian, Muslim, Armenian, and Jewish Quarters of Old Jerusalem. This is what she writes. You ready? Here it goes. Have you ever been in love? Like, really in love? And in love with someone that you couldn't have? Maybe you told them how you felt. This is about Jerusalem, don't worry. Or maybe you did tell them. And maybe it all even worked out for a while, but it ended with chunks of your heart splattered on the wall. Mad, delirious, obsessive, hungry love. You never forget that person. They are the chemical embodiment of every aching hope and every desperate fear. The place where the ethereal and the all too real come together. Where your expectations are shaken, maybe even broken, where your whole sense of reality comes undone and you're left standing there with your eyes turned toward the horizon, waiting. Jerusalem is like that person that you love with passion, without reason, with a fire in your veins that gets under your skin and in your hair, that, if you had hair, that unravels your mind and occupies every thought. And like someone capable of making you feel all these things, Jerusalem too is a wild creature that cannot be defined. Jerusalem is a fierce warrior who suffers no fools. The neighbor who brings over a bowl of soup when you're sick. The woman who drops a few coins into the beggar's cup. A pirate who shares his treasure. The best friend who betrays you. The love of your life that you dream about even when you haven't set your eyes on them in 2,000 years. Jerusalem has brought grown men and women to their knees. It has seen empires rise and fall. For centuries, people have wept and dreamt and yearned for Jerusalem. Jews and Christians and Muslims alike have had their eyes on her golden walls, where she rests on the seam between the gentle slopes of the Mediterranean coastal plain and the rugged expanse of raging desert rolling east. This place, the holiest place in Judaism, and too one of the holiest places in Christianity and Islam, has captured the imagination and the passion of so many. And I'm one of them, hopelessly in love. And I know that I am no more special than the guy who sells oranges by Damascus Gate, or the old woman who hands out red string to tie around your wrist for good luck with a blessing on your head. That's why I moved to Jerusalem in the first place, why I went in to live with the ancient walls with this zealot's hunger too, searching for that unrequited love, the one that got away, the mythic ex, the stranger who you once locked eyes with on the train and can never forget. I went in there not knowing what to expect, except to expect miracles. I wore white then, one of those gauzy dresses, like something out of a painting or a dream. But then an old woman dumped a bucket of dirty water out of the window without seeing me below, and it splattered on my dress. Sarah, 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 my friend Z in the Muslim quarter told me, the old city is an old city. Get used to it. There's bird poop, it's not what she wrote, on the windowsills, and babies wake up in the middle of the night, and the pipes leak, and it's cold in the winter. Don't be so romantic. I told my friend in the Jewish quarter about this the next day, and she just laughed. You know, just last week, she said, I heard two tourists outside my bathroom window talking, and one of them said, I wonder if real people live here. So I stuck out my head out of the window and said, of course we do. And then I flushed the toilet to prove my point. Touché. But you got to understand something about Jerusalem. You don't get to choose to live here. She chooses you. And it isn't easy. But true love never is.
I love Israel. I always have. And there are times when a government can break my heart, and so many others. But love, real love, means that there's responsibility there. And there's an activist teacher who says, her name is Anat Hoffman. She used to be the leader of the Israel Religious Action Center. And Anat said that Israel is too important to leave just to Israelis. So I'm going to invite you tonight to continue to explore this conversation about Israel, how we can love, how we can embrace, how we can learn and be inspired, and how we can continue the building of the Jewish people and the state of Israel, but not its roads and not building playgrounds, but to build democracy, to step forward with the majority of Israelis, Jewish, Druze, Arab, Palestinian, whomever they are, however they identify, and try and help them to be really a land embodied with that hope. So that was our trip. 586, I invite you to rise as we move to conclude. 586, at the very bottom of the page, we'll start there, and then we move to page 591. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'atei gdula liyotzeh bereshit, shelo asanu pogei haratzot, velo samanu ha'adama, shelo sam chalkeinu kahem, v'goraleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'ne'emar v'yadonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom ha'u yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. May be seated. Zichronam levracha. May their memories be for a blessing. If you are observing a yahrzeit is the anniversary of one's death, or if you are in a period of mourning, we invite you to rise for a moment, share the name of the one whom you are remembering, and then we'll continue with additional names from our community. Would you like to share a name? Jane. We also remember in the period of Shloshim, those first 30 days, we remember Billy Koch, the son of Laura Squires Koch and the grandson of Roz Squires. We remember Roberta Robinson, mother of Cheryl Robinson, the grandmother of Jonas Aaron and Daniel Jacobson. We remember Boris Moisev, a congregant here, the husband of Svetlana Moisev. We remember Frederick Park, the father of John Park, and Rita Wittenberg, mother of Dan Wittenberg. Those yahrzeits that we recall for this week that has passed, we remember Selma Abrams, Hope Alkin, Herbert Auerbach, Rosalie Black, Barbara Bott, Wilbur Bridge, Milton Bronstein, Lila Dubin, Hilda Goodman, Arkady Goikman, Bernie Goodmacher, Jean Helper, Kelton Hiltsley, Sarah Hurwitz, Rachel Levine, Jerry Lloyd, Flora Mermelstein, Moses Miller, August Oligschlager, David Price, Mimi Rutsky, Rose Seufer, Morris Seufer, Andrea Weiner, and Sandra Woolley. Kaddish is on page 598. We invite you to rise if you are able. We stand together to praise God's name, but we also stand together because it's always hard to say Kaddish when it's our turn. So when we stand together in our symbolic way, shoulder to shoulder, we help our friends stand up too. 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabbah v'yalma divrach chiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael v'agala v'zman karev v'meru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam omei al-maya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemed kodesha barechu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata na'amiran v'yalma v'meru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'meru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'meru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, all who hurt, here and everywhere. Let's say together, amen. We can be seated. I'll invite you to turn to page 645 for a concluding prayer, page 645. And for our folks who are part of our neighborhood and this community, we are still collecting food for EFA, the Emergency Family Assistance Association. They support families in crisis within Boulder County, and they have received so many requests for help, and in the summertime, the shelves in food pantries are empty. So I'm going to beg of you to show up during the week next Shabbat, whether it's here in this building or at the tent, which we're not at because it was supposed to be terrible weather. At the tent also we have a food bin where we're trying to bring a little bit of relief to folks who need EFA. So we hope that you'll take advantage of this opportunity. On 645, I'm going to change the closing prayer to the top one, the prayer on the top of the page. I don't think I've sung this in 20 years. But I kind of feel like it kind of connects with some of what we were talking about. Some of you might remember the melody from years gone by. It goes like this. Lechi lach to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha to a place you do not know. Shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing. Lechi lach, lechi lach, and I shall make your name great. And all shall praise your name. Shabbat Chaim, Lesimchat Chaim, Lechilach. We wish you a Shabbat Shalom. Wish your neighbors a Shabbat Shalom. Come and join us in our social hall. We'll make a motzi. You can grab a nash. We'll be very grateful if we bring our prayer books back to the carts. And good Shabbos.